I'm going to be reading Bunya the Witch by Robert Cross and Misha Richter. Once upon a time, there was a very tiny old woman, and her name was Bunya. Tiny Bunya lived alone in a very old, tumble-down cottage on the outskirts of a small village. Every day, all the children of the village came to tease and torment Bunya.
"Bunya, Bunya, you're a witch! Bunya, Bunya, dig a ditch!"
chanted all of the children. "Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me," chanted Bunya back. So the children threw sticks and stones as well as mud at her. "Witch! Witch!" they cried as they threw. "I'm not a witch," cried Bunya. I'm not. "Okay, Bunya," said a loud boy. "If you're not a witch, prove it."
"Yeah, prove it."
"If you're not a witch, prove it. Prove it, prove it," screamed all the children. "Prove that I'm not a witch," said Bunya. "Who can prove they're not a witch? If I was a witch, that I could prove. I would make a motion and say, 'Hocus pocus.'" Immediately there was a loud clap of thunder and a crashing bolt of lightning, and all the children were turned into frogs. "I am a witch," groaned Bunya. "I am a witch." And Bunya the witch collapsed in a heap, sobbing, moaning, wringing her fingers, cracking her knuckles, and pounding the earth. In the village square, the great clock knelled the hour of 6. Bong, 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 bong. It was supper time, but instead of hungry children, frogs. "A plague of locusts I've heard of," an old man said. "A plague of frogs is a first. Frogs, 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 everywhere frogs." All the mothers and fathers were throwing frogs out of their houses as the frogs tried to sit down and eat their children's dinner, little realizing that the frogs were their children. No sooner was a frog thrown out than, quick as a wink, he jumped right back in the window, only to be thrown out again. The mayor of the village, who was a scholar and a very wise man, looked into the eyes of the frog who was trying to eat his son's supper. "This frog is our son," he cried, "our beloved Emil." So saying, he kissed his frog son, and his eyes filled with tears, as did the eyes of his frog son, Emil. "Let me kiss Emil too," says the mayor's wife. "After all, I am this frog's mother." "Kiss, kiss," sobbed the mayor. Suddenly he tapped his head. "Aha," he said, "I've got it." "Witchcraft," he cried, "courtesy of Bunya the witch." So saying, the mayor clutched his frog son to his heart, and with his wailing wife behind him, ran into the streets, crying, "Bunya the witch has changed my darling son Emil into a frog." "She's changed my sweet daughter Sophie," sobbed the butcher. "A sweeter girl you couldn't find. Now she's a frog." "Bunya changed my twin darlings into twin frogs," cried the baker, and all the villagers ran out of their houses, crying and clutching their frog children. They gathered in the village square. There was crying and wailing and gnashing of teeth and sad croaking from the frog children. Then the mayor tapped his forehead again. "I've got an idea," he said, drying his tears and blowing his nose. "Bunya the witch changed our children into frogs. Bunya the witch can change our frogs into children." "Why didn't I think of that?" said the butcher. "Because you're not as smart as I am," said the mayor. "Don't argue," said the baker. "On to Bunya's! On to Bunya's! On to Bunya's!" chanted the villagers. So the mayor, leading the way, all the mothers and fathers marched to Bunya's tumble-down cottage on the edge of the village. Bunya was still in a heap, sobbing, moaning, wringing her hands, cracking her knuckles, and pounding the earth. "Bunya, you terrible witch," said the mayor. "You have done a monstrous, horrible thing." "You're telling me," said Bunya. I know. But it's all a big mistake. I was trying to prove to your children I wasn't a witch. I made a motion. I said, hocus pocus. Immediately, there was a loud clap of thunder and a crashing bolt of lightning, and all the mothers and fathers turned to pigs. "I've done it again," groaned Bunya. Poor Bunya was shaking so much she went into the house to make a hot tea of lemon to calm her nerves. "Frogs first by mistake, now pigs by mistake," groaned Bunya as she sipped her hot tea with lemon. "Oink, oink," went the pigs. "Croak, croak," croaked the frogs. "Such a racket," sighed Bunya. "Who needs all this trouble? Not me. After all these years, suddenly I'm a witch. Such a thing to discover at my age. Magic powers? Who needs them? But also, who needs all these frogs and pigs?" Then Bunya got an idea. Bunya made a motion, said, "Pocus hocus." Immediately, there was a loud clap of thunder and a big bolt of lightning, and all the frogs and pigs turned back into children and mothers and fathers. The mothers and fathers were all very frightened now they knew from experience that Bunya was a witch. They were also very respectful. They inquired after her health and bowed and scraped, trying not to displease Bunya in any way so that Bunya would not cast any more spells on them. "Dear Bunya, I hope you're enjoying your old age," said the mayor. "What's to enjoy?" replied Bunya. "I'll send you fresh chicken already plucked, sweet Bunya," says the butcher. "I'll send you some fresh day-old bread kindly, Bunya," said the baker. "Has anyone told you you're a very good-looking old lady?" said the wine merchant.
"Bunya, Bunya, you're a peach. Bunya, Bunya, make a speech,"
chanted all the children. Bunya raised her hands in silence to silence them. "Please, Bunya, no more hocus pocus," pleaded the mayor, falling to his knees. "Nobody's making hocus pocus," said Bunya. "I'm holding up my hands for silence. Now listen to me. I didn't need your insults, and I do not need your compliments. Do me a favor, will you please?" Anything, sweet, pretty Bunya," said the villagers. "Stop calling me pretty Bunya. Go home and mind your own business, and let me mind mine, which happens to be being a witch." "Whatever you say, good sweet Bunya," replied the villagers as they left walking backwards. At last, Bunya was alone. "So if I'm a witch, I'm a witch. Magic powers aren't the worst thing in the world. Maybe I could use them to help the poor. And who is poorer than poor Bunya? Nobody. There is one thing I've always wanted to do: travel. Now, in my old age, thanks to my magic powers, I can." So Bunya the witch got on her broomstick and sailed away into the sky to see the world. The end.